Hi, I'm James the Light Guy, and today we're doing a headlight build. This build is for a 2008 Subaru Legacy. A colleague gave me a pair of these black aftermarket housings, so we could tear them apart and see what we could do with them. The first step is to clean off any of the dirt and grime that may be on the headlamps, followed by removing all of the factory harness, connectors, covers. This one had a factory xenon ballast in the bottom, and we've pulled off all those covers, as well as the headlight self-leveler, which just took a lot of screwing to unwind. Now that we've gotten this far, we have to separate the lens from the backing. A lot of people, my brother included, like to put these in the oven to heat up the butyl or silicon sealer that holds them together. On these ones, I believe it is a non-adhesive silicon with a little bit of vulcanized silicon holding it together. Heat may not be needed on this housing. If it is, I personally use a electric heat gun and just work the joint as we go until it loosens up and pry apart. I like being able to heat specific areas as opposed to the whole headlamp. First thing we got to do is pull off all of these little fasteners, these little screws, and see where that leaves us. Quick check. Alright, looks like we got them all. Now we can start undoing these clips. And we're separate. See, this harness, headlamp assembly used a solid silicon gasket. We're going to replace this with a butyl rubber when we put this back together. So let's peel all this off. Let's get this inner shroud taken off. And see what's holding this up. Nothing, we were just snagged on the rubber gasket. So now we have the inside shroud taken off. We're going to put that aside for now. And we can take a look at the lens. As you can see, it's not a perfectly clear lens. We might be able to touch that up with a little bit of clear coat and some sanding, and we'll see how well we can recover it. Put that aside, as well as all of our little pieces. Let's put all of them together in here. Alright, next we have the back of our housing, and we need to pull this assembly out. It's held in with two tabs on this pin here, and the adjustment screw on the back here is threaded in over here. So first thing we want to do is pop this off. Grab a small screwdriver and attachments. Let's see. Use a flat head for the little pokey bit. Alright. I probably should have showed that to the camera. Let's push that back on. All I'm doing, if you can see, is pushing in on these little tabs, one on each side, to get it to release. Grabbing a set of calipers, we can see that the largest dimension here is 95, well, can't see that, can you? About 95 millimeters. Which means that if we want to try and fit a shroud in there, it's going to take an extra small projector. Originally, I planned on using a projector equal in size to the low beam, but it won't fit. So our alternative is this micro projector that you may have seen in one of my previous videos. We need to get the hole in the back big enough to fit this in. This one's already been damaged, so with a little light Dremel work we can embiggen that hole and this will fit perfectly. But before we do that, since this is a high beam, we don't need the dual low beam, high beam function. We can take this piece right out of the assembly. Alright guys, what'd you do with the last screw? Ah, found it. And there we go. Now it's a high beam projector. Alright, we're pretty close in size to the hole that we want, but we're still going to take out our Dremel and use a drum wheel or drum sander. Get our eye protection on. Alright, double check that that's good and tight. Perfect. Move those out of the way. and let's get to it. Since the hole was already damaged, let's see how we did. Perfect fit. Going from this side, see? Perfect. Let's grab a silicone gasket like this to help seat it in, but this one's a bit thick. Let's see if we have a thinner one. Alright, I did find a nice thin silicone gasket. We'll slide that on over. Get that in. And then grab our backing nut. Get that situated. And not the right tool for the job, but it will do. Let's snug that up just to see how it looks. Click. Alright, now you can see I don't have this perfectly aligned. I want these holes to be at the widest point, so we're going to give that a little twist before we tighten up the back a little bit more. There we go. That's about where I want it aligned. On second thought, it's easier to remove this whole projector assembly from this panel than it is to cover it up, and probably a bit safer in case there's any overspray that finds its way in. So let's do that real quick. Alright, it is too wet and too cold to paint out in the garage. So I've set up a temporary paint booth here in my basement. Here we can keep the temperature up and the humidity down to give our paint a fighting chance at drying properly. We're going to remove the clear lenses from both of the black assemblies and then Scotch-Brite everything down to give a good rough surface for our paint to adhere to. We're going to coat everything with a high temp black paint. That'll give it a uniform, professional appearance. These lenses pop out from the back. They have a little clear tab here, and one in here. And then it pops right out. This assembly is pretty badly damaged. You can see we got a few scratches and a large crack running through. We're going to see if we can't repair that, possibly with some silicone. Oh look, a little flake came off. Alright, next we have to get this lower piece off, which has a tab here and a tab at the back. Actually, there were 3 tabs. A piece broke off the corner here while we were working on it. We're going to see if we can't find a way to reattach that. Now let's get this marker lens out. Looks like the attachment points are down in here and here, which are both reasonably difficult to reach. Let's see if we can't work it out. Maybe get a pinky in here. No. Alright, let's grab another tool. Something longer might be able to poke down in there. Alright, we're just going to take our calipers, and I know this isn't the right tool, but it's the first one I had on hand. Take the depth gauge and just shove it down in here and see if we can't get that lens to pop free. There it goes. There we go. Now you can see that there is still a lot of damage here that we're going to have to find a way of fixing. Alright, let's get the other one done. Alright, now that that's done, we can collect up all these clear lenses and put them aside while we Scotch-Brite the rest of the parts. It's always important to wear the proper protective equipment, in this case some sort of mask to protect your lungs from any dust and debris. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, we just need it roughed up enough for the paint to grab onto over the pure chrome finish. That's one down. Let's look at those side by side. And remembering that most of this is going to be concealed by the black. Alright, there we go. Now that we have all of these sanded down, we're going to clean them up real good and get them ready for paint.